Miami's moonlight murderer in the flesh. Gotta say, love the precision. So many bodies, such clean cuts, though all that plastic wrap seems a bit wasteful. Environmental concerns, Dexy boy?
The painted maniac himself. I've tracked your patterns, or rather your deliberate lack of them. Fascinating how someone so theatrical leaves behind such messy evidence. Blood spatter doesn't lie, and yours tells me you're not killing with purpose, just impulse.
Purpose? You actually believe that fairy tale you tell yourself? Each carefully arranged kill room, each trophy slide, they're not justice. They're just your addiction dressed up in moral clothing. Your foster daddy saw a broken thing, and instead of fixing it, he pointed it at deserving targets. Talk about bad parenting. At least I never needed permission slips to embrace my true nature.
Strange hearing a lecture on self-deception from someone whose identity changes with each telling of his origin story. Chemical bath one day, abusive father the next. My nature may be dark, but at least it's consistent. Your unpredictability isn't freedom, it's fragmentation, a collection of personas with nothing underneath but emptiness. Harry didn't give me permission to kill. He gave me boundaries, something you clearly never benefited from.
Boundaries? Your precious code didn't save Rita, did it? Trinity sliced her up in your bathtub while you were out playing Avenging Angel. Some protector. Your code isn't about boundaries, it's about justification. The ultimate get-out-of-guilt-free card. I only kill killers sounds noble, until everyone around you starts dying because of your extracurricular activities. Face it, blood boy. Your code is just the punchline to a joke you're still not getting.
Bringing up Rita, hitting below the belt, but accurate. My failures have piled up bodies, innocent ones. Harrison growing up without a mother, Deb's downward spiral, LaGuerta's murder. You're right about the casualties. The difference? I carry those weights. They change me. Trinity taught me my limitations. What lessons have you absorbed from your failures, besides finding new ways to torment Batman? Your relationship with consequences seems non-existent. When Harley Quinn sacrificed everything for you, did you feel anything genuine beneath the makeup?
Feelings? Coming from the empty shell who had to fake emotions his entire adult life? Priceless. You maintained a meticulous spreadsheet of appropriate human responses, while I've been authentically chaotic from day one. Your emotional growth is like watching paint. Dry, painful, slow, and ultimately pointless. Look at your track record. Married a woman without telling her she was sleeping with a serial killer. Fathered a child you couldn't protect. Abandoned your son multiple times. And you're questioning my capacity for connection? The real difference between us isn't emotional depth. It's honesty about our emptiness.
Authentically chaotic, clever phrase for unable to maintain coherent identity. Your persona changes with audience needs. With Batman, you're the philosopher of chaos. With Harley, the seductive manipulator. With Gotham citizens, the terrorist seeking reaction. Which version owns the real estate behind those eyes? At least my falsified emotions eventually grew roots. Rita, Harrison, Deb, they reached something inside me I didn't know existed. Primitive, incomplete, but real. Your endless performance never stops long enough for anything genuine to break through. The makeup isn't your mask, it's the only thing holding the fragments together.
Fragmentary identity? Bold critique. From someone who vanished into complete reinvention multiple times. Lumberjack, boat captain, forensics expert. You've tried on more lives than I've had henchmen. Here's something your psychological autopsy missed. My changing faces aren't fragmentation. They're adaptation. I respond to Gotham's evolution, become what its collective psyche needs me to be. Meanwhile, you respond to nothing but the whispers of your so-called dark passenger, a convenient entity to blame for your urges. Who's really imprisoned? The man who can become anything, or the one trapped in endless cycles of kill rooms and guilt?
Adaptation suggests purpose, something your chaos actively rejects. You don't evolve, you react. Batman improves his methods, so you escalate yours. Gotham implements new security, you find creative workarounds. Your identity isn't adaptive but oppositional, defined entirely by what you're destroying rather than what you're building. My reinventions, however flawed, represent attempts at growth. Running from myself? Absolutely. But at least acknowledging there's something worth escaping. Your chaos isn't freedom, but compulsion. The inability to stop performing even when the audience has left. The question isn't whether I'm imprisoned by my patterns, but whether you can even exist without yours.
Your dark passenger collected more innocent bystanders than actual targets. Trinity, Brian, Saxon, each big bad in your story, slaughtered people close to you while you played cat and mouse. Some vigilante. I may spread chaos, but at least I'm honest about the devastation. You're still clinging to the fiction that your killing makes Miami safer, when statistics showed homicide rates climbing during your active years. Your moral superiority is the biggest joke in this conversation. A serial killer who thinks he's a hero because he only slices up other killers. Meanwhile, everyone who loves you ends up bleeding out.
Statistics can be manipulated, something we both understand. But yes, my wake is littered with casualties I never intended. Trinity remains my greatest failure, proving your point about my limitations. Yet for every Trinity or Saxon, dozens of killers never claimed additional victims because of my intervention. Your chaos creates no such balance sheet, only escalation. You broke Harvey Dent not to prevent future crimes, but to prove everyone's moral code is breakable. You've never saved anyone except yourself. Even your relationship with Harley wasn't about her potential, but your need for devotion. You speak of honesty while dancing around your fundamental truth. Beneath the chaos, philosophy lies simple, desperate loneliness. Destroying connections because you can't maintain them isn't honesty. It's surrender.
From the man who fled to the wilderness after his sister died, who abandoned his son repeatedly, who couldn't maintain a single authentic relationship without lies forming its foundation. Your psychological projections are showing, Dexy. Let's strip away the pretense. We're both intimately acquainted with emptiness. The difference? I transformed mine into performance art, while you've spent decades trying to fill yours with blood and approximations of human connection. Your code isn't about justice. It's about creating structure in the void, where your humanity should be. At least my emptiness spawned creativity. Yours just left a trail of body bags and traumatized loved ones. Some legacy you've carved out with those careful incisions.
Performance art requires audience appreciation to have meaning, making you ultimately dependent on the very society you claim to reject. My void may never be filled, but at least I've acknowledged its existence rather than decorating it with elaborate distractions. Yes, I've failed those closest to me. Yes, my attempts at humanity have been imperfect simulacra rather than the genuine article. But beneath the bloodlust and broken connections, I've maintained one thing you haven't: the aspiration to be more than my darkness. Your chaos isn't transcendence, but capitulation, surrendering entirely to your worst impulses while convincing yourself it's enlightenment. We're both monsters shaped by trauma, But only one of us has spent decades fighting against that inheritance rather than celebrating it.
Fighting against your nature. How exhausting that must be. All that energy spent swimming against your own current. And where did it leave you? Alone, hunted, your life a monument to futility. We've both painted our masterpieces in red, Dexter Morgan. You've just wasted precious time pretending your canvas was somehow nobler than mine. When your final heartbeat fades, the universe won't distinguish between your justified murders and my chaotic ones. The cosmic joke is that neither of us matters beyond the temporary disruption we've caused. The difference between us isn't moral, but philosophical. I embrace the punchline while you're still trying to rewrite it. In the end, we both know there's nothing waiting but darkness and silence.
Perhaps you're right that oblivion equalizes us eventually. But until that darkness claims us, intention creates distinction, not moral superiority. I surrendered that illusion watching Rita bleed out. But purpose, amid emptiness, your chaos destroys indiscriminately. My darkness, however flawed its execution, targets itself toward those who would otherwise continue killing innocents. We're both broken beyond repair, both navigating vast internal wastelands. But while you've devoted yourself to proving everyone else is one push away from becoming you, I've spent my life struggling toward something beyond what that shipping container created. I might never reach it, but unlike you, I never stopped reaching. Tonight, I don't need my slide collection to recognize what separates us. It's not the blood we've spilled, but what we sought within its reflection.